they talking real loud. Spreading no light, trying to bring me down. Enemies lurking, but I won't back away. Got a vision in my mind, I'm here to stay. Got my crew beside me, we rise like a tide. When the storm gets rough, we ain't gonna hide. Propaganda swirling, but it won't touch me. Only love around, that's how it's gonna be. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track. In the city lights where dreams collide, we hustle through the night, fire in our stride. Whispers in the dark can't dim my glow. With rhythm in my soul, I'm ready for the show. We break the chains, rewrite the rules. In this concrete jungle where nobody's fools. Unity sings louder than the lies they scheme. In the heart of the struggle, we dare to dream. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track.
Another Queen Amadaya production.
Haze on the corner, they talking real loud. Spreading no light, trying to bring me down. Enemies lurking, but I won't back away. Got a vision in my mind, I'm here to stay. Got my crew beside me, we rise like a tide. When the storm gets rough, we ain't gonna hide. Propaganda swirling, but it won't touch me. Only love around, that's how it's gonna be. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track. In the city lights where dreams collide, we hustle through the night, fire in our stride. Whispers in the dark can't dim my glow. With rhythm in my soul, I'm ready for the show. We break the chains, rewrite the rules. In this concrete jungle where nobody's fools. Unity sings louder than the lies they scheme. In the heart of the struggle, we dare to dream. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track. Haze on the corner, they talking real loud. Spreading no light, trying to bring me down. Enemies lurking, but I won't back away. Got a vision in my mind, I'm here to stay. Got my crew beside me, we rise like a tide. When the storm gets rough, we ain't gonna hide. Propaganda swirling, but it won't touch me. Only love around, that's how it's gonna be. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track. In the city lights where dreams.
Right, hello everyone. Thanks for tuning back in once again to the original Queen Amadaya show. I'm your host, Queen Amadaya, and this is your Saturday Vitamins. So as you're coming in, please feel free to go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Be sure to click that notification bell and click the word all so you're notified each time Queen Goddess goes live. Okay, so let's get into it. Okay, Terry Hitton's in the virtual building. Deronda, we the people. All right, let's get into it. Anita Harrell. All right, Perplexed. Okay, so shout out to all of my loyal royals and everyone tuned into the Queen. Let's have a brief word from our sponsor and get right into it. Likes up, like, and share.
Do not buy 12 Tribes on Earth hair growth oil and hair magic elixir unless you want super healthy, gorgeous hair that grows. They have a whole line of amazing hair growth products, including hair growth leave-in conditioner spray, hair growth shampoo, hair growth spray, and hair growth butter. I'm starting to sense a theme here. They include quality natural ingredients. They smell amazing, and you can see the results for yourself. So if you're looking for healthy hair growth for your natural or relaxed hair, try 12 Tribes on Earth today.
Okay, so don't forget you can purchase 12 Tribes hair oil at Etsy.com. Just look for Lisa Crafts. You can also find it at Walmart.com. And don't forget that she sells beard oil. Okay, so with that all being said, let's get ready to get into it. All right, shout out to everybody in the chat and everyone tuned into the Queen, and a shout out to my moderators because y'all know they be putting in work. Okay, so here's what's going on. Pete Hegseth has been accused of giving the orders to take out survivors during those boat strikes, specifically the one in September. There were some survivors clinging to the boat, injured out there in the water, and they're saying that Pete Hegseth gave the order to leave no survivors, kill everybody. Okay, in order for those people to be blown to smithereens. Okay, this is also inhumane, and these are clearly war crimes, and even experts have said the same thing. But I've been telling you all this. Okay, we all knew that this is war crimes, and Trump can sit there and deny it all he wants. Now, mind you, Hegseth is denying this, saying that he didn't do any such thing. Okay, but we're going to get into it. So let's go to this report. Second strike to kill survivors on alleged rug boats. Let's get into it.
So you might be wondering, well, what's the latest with the Epstein files? Congress passed the bill, President Trump signing the bill into law, basically making the forcing the federal government to release its case files relating to the Epstein saga. The Department of Justice has to release those files. They only have a certain amount of time to get these things out. I'll let Fox's Doug Luzader explain more.
There may not be much of a holiday weekend for many people at the Justice Department. Presumably, they are furiously going through the Epstein files.
We will continue to follow the law with maximum transparency while protecting victims.
Attorney General Pam Bondi says she will comply with the law, including the new one passed just last week, requiring her department to release all it has on Jeffrey Epstein, the late financier accused of trafficking women and abusing girls. Epstein had plenty of high-profile friends, including former President Clinton and at one time President Trump, who said he cut off Epstein years ago.
I think we are going to get a lot.
Legal experts expect to see quite a bit.
My hope and my expectation is that the Justice Department will err on the side of transparency. These are documents that everyone wants to see.
And what so many want to see is whether other big names are implicated in Epstein's misdeeds.
This is obviously sensitive stuff.
But lawyers caution there will be redactions.
I don't know if we're going to see a smoking gun. There's going to be a lot for amateur sleuths to poke through about flight logs and whatever else. But we will eventually see this report.
Unfortunately, it has all come down to the Epstein files.
There has already been political fallout, including the big split between one-time allies, Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, and President Trump, who initially had fought the release before backing it. Those pushing for more disclosures plan to follow this through.
Anyone who's involved in any kind of cover-up is going to be subject to criminal prosecution.
And because there can be redactions to these documents to protect either victims or ongoing investigations, this may come to a larger debate over what's not released next month. In Washington, Doug Luzader, Fox News.
Okay, welcome back. We will continue to track any and all developments relating to the Epstein files, of course. We'll let you know as soon as we know if the DOJ has released a significant tranche of files. Of course, that deadline looming. A live look at Capitol Hill, looking like the sun's going down in the nation's capital. Moving across the country, a live look at Los Angeles International Airport.
I'm going to fast forward, beloveds.
Look at Los Angeles Caribbean, though. You've likely seen these types of images by now. The Washington Post has an exclusive. They say that Secretary Pete Hegseth gave an order to, quote, kill everybody in the first strike on suspected drug boats in the Caribbean back in September. The Post says after 2 men survived, the mission commander ordered a second strike to comply with Hegseth's instructions. Standing by is Alex Horton. He's a Washington Post military reporter. He wrote the story. He had the scoop. So, Alex, why might they want to make sure that these people were dead? Could they have learned anything from talking to possible survivors?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Austin. Yeah, that's typically how it's worked in the last 20-something years of combat in Iraq and Afghanistan and elsewhere. That, you kill militants who are engaged in ground combat, but there is also value in arresting people, detaining them, asking them questions, and if you're doing a raid, capturing anything that might be useful, documents, hard drives, that sort of thing. In the region, when it came to alleged drug traffickers for the last several decades, the Coast Guard has been responsible for interdicting these boats, stopping them, arresting them, and then taking drugs and other things, and they would send them on their way to prosecution. And the Drug Enforcement Agency and other other organizations would rely on that information to understand networks, understand trafficking a little better. But that's not what's happening here. The U.S. is striking these boats and killing these alleged traffickers. So their ability to understand it more is fairly limited when you do that.
So SEAL Team 6 carried out the operation, and the report says after their initial strike on the boat, 2 men were seen alive. They were clinging to the wreckage, and rather than rescuing or detaining them, a second double tap strike was carried out. It killed the survivors. So, Alex, you spoke with a military lawyer about this. Did you discuss legal and ethical concerns?
Yeah, we spoke to former attorneys and people who are familiar with the incident from the inside. And yeah, there's some legal dimensions to this, depending on I'm not a lawyer, and how this would even fall out in any kind of court is anyone's guess. But there's some subtleties here. The Trump administration has said that these people are in not international armed conflict with the U.S., which makes them combatants. But there are provisions that protect combatants in the Geneva Convention, specifically when it comes to being shipwrecked. For example, if the U.S. and China were engaged in a naval battle, and one of the Chinese vessels was sunk, if the sailors are there and they're not trying to fight you back, it is unlawful to kill them while they're in the water. You do have responsibilities to help them if reasonable, and to give them aid if reasonable, but you cannot keep on attacking them. They are not a combatant anymore. It's called hors de combat. It's a term that's been around for decades now. But a lot of legal scholars who focus on law of war issues, they are saying that these people are not combatants because the U.S. is not at war with these drug traffickers or alleged traffickers. Therefore, these strikes can be chalked up to just traditional murder. So it's really depending on your perspective and who would decide these things. But that's where sort of the legalities lies. So to people who follow the law closely on these matters, whichever way you slice it is a little concerning.
Over 20 of these types of strikes have been carried out in recent months. Do we have any information to suggest if this double tap method was used on other strikes aside from the very first one?
That's a good question. As far as we know, we couldn't find any other instances. And this was extraordinary for a few different reasons. One, it was the very first strike. So it was very, very, there's a lot of focus and a lot of intensity around it, a lot of unknowns about how this was all going to go. And then the very first one, you had survivors. There was a subsequent strike, sometime later. You may recall this was the semi-submersible on, I think, the Atlantic side.
Yep.
And there was a Colombian and an Ecuadorian who were both rescued and repatriated. They weren't tried in any American system. They weren't taken to the U.S. for questioning. They were back home within a couple of days. So what we know is there was a greater emphasis after this strike to plan deliberately to put greater emphasis, put greater care into what happens when you have someone in the water. It seems to me that maybe it wasn't that cognizant for people, and once it happened the first time, it seemed to be more of a deliberate thing to focus on it. But as far as we know, we don't know if, and as far as we know, there were no other double taps that happened like this.
You cover the military for WAPO. What are you tracking in the coming weekend? What are you tracking in the coming days? We've been watching as the U.S. has been building up its resources in the region. What are you watching for in the immediate weeks ahead?
I'm watching for things that change and turn on a dime. I think people are glued to the open source tracking of all these planes that are going towards Venezuela. There's been B-52s and all kinds of electronic warfare planes, and people on Twitter will just blow up and be like, "All right, here it comes. There's something happening." But the U.S. has those plane transponders on so you can see them. It's about sending a message. If there's going to be a bombing run on Caracas, you're not going to see those things on open source tracking. So I'm looking for any changes of subtleties of that, ramping up of rhetoric in Caracas or Washington. But if something were to happen, that's a big if. The diplomatic talks are ongoing, the posturing is ongoing. As far as we know, these strikes have only been focused on alleged drug traffickers. But if, and I do underline the word if something were to happen on the ground in Venezuela, whether it's against traffickers or government targets, we're going to hear about it after the fact.
Yeah, it's worth mentioning, too, that just yesterday on Thanksgiving, President Trump said the U.S. will very soon start stopping suspected Venezuelan drug trafficking networks by land. He said by land, acknowledging that. We appreciate your time coming on today. By the way, I will also mention that any other significant strikes that happen on water, we'll be tracking closely. What will this look like? Let's say a strike does take place on land, and maybe this is an impossible question to answer, but typically we see the DoD very shortly after the strikes over sea, they'll send out a video of this thing. Do we anticipate that they'll handle a land strike the same? Is that clear to us at all?
That's not clear to me at all. I mean, that just comes down to President Trump's decision and what he wants to say with these messages. I think traffickers around the region, they're not necessarily going to know if a boat connected to one group versus another is going to happen. So, releasing the videos quick might be messaging to groups as a deterrence to knock it off.
Okay, so with that all being said, let's go to what Pete Hegseth had to say about all of this. He is denying this, said it's fake news. He said that's not what happened. Let's go to his post on X. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Thank you in advance. Okay, now here's what he said. He says, as usual, the fake news is delivering more fabricated, inflammatory, and derogatory reporting to discredit our incredible warriors fighting to protect the homeland. As we've said from the beginning, and in every statement, these highly effective strikes are specifically intended to be lethal kinetic strikes. The declared intent is to stop lethal rugs, destroy narco boats, and kill the narco terrorists who are poisoning the American people. Every trafficker we kill is affiliated with a designated terrorist organization. Okay, that's all fine if it were true, but where is the proof? They're not giving any proof of any of the things that they're alleging, okay? All they're doing is killing people and just telling us why they did it with no proof. All right, so I don't believe them. Now, the Biden administration, he says, preferred the kid's glove approach, allowing millions of people, including dangerous cartels and unvetted Afghans, to flood our communities with rugs and violence. The Trump administration has sealed the border and gone on offense against narco terrorists. Biden coddled terrorists. We kill them. That's interesting because Trump has had terrorists in the White House. So what is he talking about? Biden coddled them. It looks like Trump does the same thing. Okay, our current operations in the Caribbean are lawful under both U.S. and international law, with all actions in compliance with the law of armed conflicts and approved by the best military and civilian lawyers up and down the chain of command. Our warriors in Southcom put their lives on the line every day to protect the homeland from narco terrorists, and I will always have their back. All right, so y'all heard what he said. To me, that sounds like an admission, okay? Then a denial, because he says he didn't do it, but right there, yeah, that sounds like you absolutely did, because he said he'd always have their backs, and he's talking about it was to kill the narco terrorist. But what about these innocent people, okay? They said one man was a Colombian fisherman. That's what Petro said. Okay, so I just have a lot of questions at the end of the day. And it seems like they're going to start passing the buck. What do you all think? Because that's what it sounds like to me. It sounds like they're going to start passing the buck. Hegseth said that he didn't give the order. Well, if he didn't give the order, then who did? Because somebody did. Okay, and since he's the one that's in charge and over everything, I believe that would fall on him. That's what makes sense. Okay, let's go to this next report.
Since early September, President Donald Trump has ordered a series of controversial military strikes on boats in the Caribbean and the Eastern Pacific. The administration says the vessels were smuggling drugs from Venezuela and from Colombia, But officials in both countries and many in Washington are questioning whether that's true and whether these strikes are even legal. It started on September 2nd when President Trump posted a video online that showed what he said was a strike on a, quote, Venezuelan narco-terrorist boat. He claimed the 11 people killed were linked to Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. Maduro denied it.
Venezuela es un país libre de producción de hoja de coca, libre de producción de cocaína.
Less than 2 weeks later, there was another strike, this time killing 3 people. When asked by reporters about that strike, Trump said the incident occurred in international waters, and he insisted, quote, we have proof that that boat was carrying drugs because of the cargo that was in the ocean. On September 19th, the third strike followed, killing 3 more people. Trump alleged that they were working for an unspecified, quote, designated terrorist organization. On October 3rd, Trump announced a 4th strike, 4 people killed, claiming that the vessel carried enough drugs to kill, quote, 25 to 50,000 people. Colombian President Gustavo Petro said one of those killed was a Colombian fisherman and was not involved in drug trafficking.
No hay necesidad de tirar misiles, es absolutamente ineficaz. Y no parece estar dirigida esa acción realmente a incautar cocaína, sino a una invasión, que también es absurdamente ilegal.
Trump used a Navy anniversary speech to announce yet another strike. 6 men killed in the Caribbean.
In recent weeks, the Navy has supported our mission to blow the cartel terrorists the hell out of the water. You see that?
And just days after that, on October 16th, a strike left 2 survivors. They were quickly handed over to their home countries of Colombia and Ecuador, a move that prevented them from challenging their detention in court. Authorities in Ecuador later declined to file charges against their national, but Colombia said they would pursue a legal investigation on their individual. That same day, Admiral Alvin Halsey, the head of U.S. Southern Command, who oversees U.S. military operations in the region, announced that he was stepping down after less than a year in the post. By late October, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said the campaign was expanding. The first Pacific strike happened on October 21st and killed 2 people aboard. The next day, the administration strikes yet again in the Pacific, killing 3 people. And then another strike on October 24th, just off the coast of Venezuela, killed 6 people. October 27th saw the biggest number of casualties, as 14 people were killed in 3 strikes in the Eastern Pacific, according to Hegseth. The administration says these operations are part of a broader effort to stop what they call narco-terrorism.
Every one of those boats is responsible for the death of 25,000 American people and the destruction of families. So when you think of it that way, what we're doing is actually an act of kindness.
Let me tell you something. Trump is such a lying devil. How is he going to, where is he getting that number from? 25,000 deaths. Where is he coming up with this from? We know he didn't do any research. He's just throwing out numbers, just trying to point, put out a narrative. That's all he's doing. And also, none of this should be surprising to anyone that Trump's having these people killed, because he's the same person who said a few years ago that drug dealers should be killed. They should get the death penalty. That's what he said. The reason he said that is because people who look like him were on the opiates and all of that stuff. Okay, at the end of the day, see, he's making allowances for them. This is what they do. He's making allowances and excuses for them because they're having illegal substance problems. So he's blaming it on the people that he claims are smuggling in the illegal substances. Okay, but who's making them take it? Who's making them go out and buy illegal substances? Who's making people get addicted? These are choices that people make. And I find it interesting that, he wants to coddle them and act like this is everybody's fault except theirs. But when it was Black people with the crack epidemic, it was the Black people's fault. The Black people were nefarious. They didn't have to be out here doing this stuff. Okay? They were deemed as criminals. Their children were taken and they were sent to prison. At the end of the day, they do a whole nother thing for the white people. Okay, they come up with Narcan to keep them from ODing. They give them needles. They take them to places or have places they can go where they can do their illegal substances in a safe environment. They call it a health crisis. This is an illness. It's a disease. See how they change all those things up? And now Trump's sitting here talking about they're responsible for 25,000 deaths. Are they responsible, or the people who chose to take illegal substances? and become addicts? Are they responsible? Okay, no accountability for white people, but Black people have always been held accountable, even when things were purposely put on us to try to lead us down a path of destruction. Nobody came from the CIA or the FBI or the ATF and brought illegal substances to the suburbs for the Caucasian people to take. Nobody planted guns in their alleys and neighborhoods. Nobody did any of that. That's what they do to the Black neighborhoods. And then when Black people are out of control and there's violence and all of this and Black on Black crime, as they love to say, but it's our fault and nobody else's. And when we complain about the government doing things and planting things, at the end of the day, they'll just say we're playing the victim and the race card. But let's continue, because Trump thinks he's on a roll, bragging about murdering people.
So, Mr. President, thank you for what you're doing. On behalf of all those Americans who will be saved from these poisonous drugs, thank you, and continue to do what you're doing.
But critics, including some members of Congress, argue that Trump may have overstepped his constitutional powers by launching military action without the approval of lawmakers.
The Constitution invests the authority to go to war with the United States.
And so far, the U.S. has released no concrete evidence publicly linking the boats to drug trafficking or terrorism. This is the most extensive U.S. military campaign in Latin America in decades, and it's not clear where it's headed next.
Oh, so nefarious. At the end of the day, just anticipated says, Queen, off topic. But do you think, hold on, let me get this out here. This pop-up is annoying. Okay, says, Queen, do you think Trump will let Vance run for president and Trump will be his VP? First of all, Trump can't tell him what to do. And second of all, how is Trump going to be a VP? You know how old Trump is? He's already in cognitive decline, honey. Trump's not running for anything else, okay? They keep talking about he's running for president again. Could you imagine Trump being a VP? You know darn well Trump's not running for VP. Trump wants to be the head honcho in charge. He's a whole mob boss. No, that would never happen. Okay, that would never happen. That shouldn't even be a question as far as I'm concerned, beloved. But thank you for your insight to the topic and your contribution to the channel. Peace, love, and blessings. Now let's talk about what some other representatives and senators are saying about Hegseth. Okay, this is what George Conway had to say. All right, now people are going in on him, and I believe that, of course, when Washington Post published this story accusing him, Hegseth that is, they obviously have some receipts, because I'm sure they wouldn't risk risk getting sued. Okay, so George Conway says this would be a war crime, even if it were an actual war. Okay, and these people were actual combatants, which there isn't, and they weren't. It's unquestionably an unlawful homicide under any form of law you wish to apply, military or civilian, domestic or international, okay, federal or whatever. Okay, so Ryan Goodman says, textbook war crime, extrajudicial killing. 2 survivors were clinging to the smoldering wreck. The Special Operations Commander overseeing the September the 2nd attack ordered a second strike to comply with Hegseth's instructions. It's also nefarious. Just to kill somebody blatantly like that, to order those people to be taken out after they've already survived the first blast, that's just inhumane. That is a devil-like move. Hegseth gave a spoken order to kill everybody in First Caribbean boat strike, according to officials. Okay, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth issued an order to kill all crew members on September the 2nd on a strike on a suspected rug boat. Navy SEALs fired a second missile. Okay, so now I find this all interesting. Here's what Joaquin Castro had to say about it. If this reporting is accurate, Secretary Hegseth ordered a murder and must be held accountable. This is probably why he is so concerned about Senator Kelly and my colleagues' warning and about illegal orders. Yes, that is what it is. I want you all to pay attention. This is absolutely the reason Donald J. Trump and Hegseth were so upset about that video. Okay, with Senator Mark Kelly and those other Democrats telling the soldiers that they do not have to follow unlawful orders, okay, and that they could be putting themselves at risk. And here's the thing, the experts are saying that this is absolutely war crimes and that everybody involved could possibly face consequences and likely will. Okay, so those Navy SEALs who are carrying this all out at the behest of Pete Hegseth, yeah, they all could end up, in big trouble at the end of the day. I would not even be doing this. So Michael Bohasic says, many of you And now this is a top Republican from Indiana. Okay, he's a senator. He says, many of you have asked my position on redistricting. I have been an unapologetic advocate for people with intellectual disabilities. Now, let me just say this. This is this man is going in about Trump calling Governor Walz, the R word on yesterday, because this man's daughter has Down syndrome. Okay, so this is what he's upset about. He says, many of you have asked my position on redistricting. I have been an unapologetic advocate for people with intellectual disabilities since the birth of my second daughter. Those of you that don't know me or my family might not know that my daughter has Down syndrome. This is not the first time our president has used these insulting and derogatory references, and his choices of words have consequences. I will be voting no on redistricting. Perhaps he can use the next 10 months to convince voters that his policies and behavior deserve a congressional majority. Okay, so Trump's just making more political rivals. That's what he's doing, his stupid self. Okay, did he not think, that people would be upset by him saying something like that? No, he just didn't care. He really just didn't care. That's what that was. Okay, calling people stupid and all these things that he says. But here is something that I also find very interesting. Okay, what I find interesting is the fact that Trump, and we're going to go to what Walz had to say in response to Trump, but let's talk about these strikes on these boats that Trump says have illegal substances. They're smuggling them into the country, killing 25,000 deaths and all, causing 25,000 deaths and all of that. You know what? Why I find that very interesting and hypocritical and very nonsensical, in fact, is because Trump has now vowed that he is absolutely going to pardon Juan Orlando Hernandez. Now, Juan Orlando Hernandez is the former president of Honduras. Okay, and why Trump is talking about pardoning this man is really interesting, because you see, the former president, Juan Orlando Hernandez, he was convicted in the United States of drug trafficking and weapons charges. Let's get into the salacious details, shall we? So on March the 8th of 2024, a federal jury in the United States in Manhattan found Hernandez guilty on 3 counts, conspiring to import Coca-Cola, and not the kind you drink, okay, into the United States. Now, isn't this crazy? I want you all to tell me how it makes any sense. You're murdering people, having people blown to smithereens, okay, going back and having second strikes to take out survivors, but you're letting someone who did the same thing that you're accusing these people of, you're going to pardon them? Anyway, let me continue. Says, conspiring to import Coca-Cola into the United States, using and carrying machine guns and destructive devices during the Coca-Cola importation conspiracy, conspiring to use and carry machine guns and destructive devices in furtherance of that same conspiracy, using U.S. prosecutors stated from about 2004 all the way up to 2022, Hernandez abused his position as president of Honduras to help facilitate the shipping of over 400 tons of Coca-Cola. Okay, now it's interesting because also, let me remind you that Trump has been talking so bad about President Maduro. The Venezuelan president said that he's a rug cartel and that he's the one having these rugs smuggled, okay, across the sea to the United States. And now he's talking about doing strikes on land. This man has been convicted of doing exactly that. Okay, you see how it's not making any sense? The math ain't mathing. 400 tons into the U.S., working in cooperation with some of the largest rug trafficking organizations. Okay, please make it all make sense. I'm sure Trump couldn't. Now, on June the 26th of 2024, Hernandez was sentenced to 45 years in prison, plus 5 years of supervised release in order to pay an $8 million fine. Now, he was extradited from Honduras to the U.S. on April 21st of 2022 after his term as president ended. The conviction marks a rare instance of a former head of state being held criminally accountable in the U.S. for rug trafficking. Despite his longstanding public role in counter-narcotics efforts with U.S. support, the court found that behind his facade, he protected and profited from the drug trafficking system. Hernandez has denied the charges, claiming political prosecution. Okay, now, I'm pretty sure he did it. Okay, I think that he absolutely did it. They had receipts. So, and he was sentenced to like 45 years. And so, yeah, he was sentenced to 45 years on June 26th of 2024. Hernandez was sentenced to 45 years plus 5 years of supervised release in order to pay an $8 million fine. Y'all hear that? So why would Trump want to pardon this man? Why would he vow that he's going to pardon this man? I have so many questions. You know, clearly there's some monetization in it for Trump. Okay, there has to be. There has to be. Because otherwise it doesn't make sense. And we already know that Trump's always doing anything for money. Okay? So with that all being said, now, here are some of the reasons given, okay, and the surrounding context for why Trump says that he would pardon Juan Orlando Hernandez, along with some of the political and strategic reasons. You know, I think this is all about money. That's just my opinion. Now, Trump wrote that Hernandez has been treated very harshly and unfairly, citing many people that I greatly respect. Okay, well, here's the question. Even if he has been treated harshly or cruelly, why would Trump care considering the fact of what he was convicted of? I mean, Trump doesn't care about those people out there in those boats. He's accusing them of the same exact thing, having them blown to smithereens. So why would he care about this man? Okay, the pardon announcement was made just ahead of Honduras's presidential election, during which Trump publicly endorsed the conservative candidate Nastri Tito Asfura from Hernandez's party. Now, Trump threatened that if Asfura loses, the United States will not be throwing good money after bad, because a wrong leader can only bring catastrophic results to a country. Is that what he doesn't he not see the irony in that? He doesn't see the irony in what he just said. Because a wrong leader can only bring catastrophic results to a country. And that's exactly what Trump's doing. Okay. Now, Trump also framed the decision in terms of U.S. And Honduras relations. He suggested the U.S. would support Honduras under favorable leadership. Okay. In this case, Asfura. And that the pardon would play into broader geopolitical strategic goals in Central America. Okay. Now, this is Trump's reasoning, I guess. Honduras is a key country in Central America in terms of U.S. interests. Okay, migration, drug trafficking routes, regional stability. The upcoming Honduran election is closely watched by the U.S. and regional organizations. So backing Asfura, Hernandez's party aligns with a more conservative U.S.-friendly posture, according to Trump's framing. Now, he contrasts this with the left-leaning alternative, Xiomara Castro, currently in power via her party, which Trump warns could align with regimes that he sees as adversarial. Okay, some analysts say, or they see the pardon as a tool of influence. By offering clemency to Hernandez, Trump could be reinforcing his influence in in the Honduras and the region, and strengthening a political coalition that aligns with his foreign policy priorities. Though Trump's statements focus on justice, fairness, and the timing and context suggest strategic moves. What do y'all think, honey? I just find this all so interesting. Okay, I find it absolutely nefarious. Hold on for 1 second, beloveds. Give me just a moment. Okay, now with that all being said, Trump, this is something to benefit him as per usual. Okay, anything that Trump does is always self-centered. So the decision is controversial, but Hernandez was convicted in a U.S. federal court for conspiring to import large quantities of Coca-Cola and for weapons offenses. Now, critics argue that pardoning someone convicted of enabling massive Coca-Cola shipments to the U.S. absolutely undercuts U.S. anti-narcotics policy and sends a problematic message about accountability for high-level corruption and drug trafficking. You see how it kind of it definitely conflicts with what he's saying is going on with these votes in Venezuela. Okay, and the Venezuelan gang. Okay, Tren de Agua, isn't that the name of it? He talks about how they're bringing in illegal substances and all of this, and at the end of the day, here he is caping for this man. I just find it interesting. So, because the pardon is announced so close to the Honduran election, some view it as direct U.S. interference or influence in that election, raising concerns about sovereignty and the integrity of the process. Yeah, I would say the same thing. And I find that interesting because that's what happened when Trump was running, right? They were talking about election interference. Okay, so this is all a hot mess. Now, Roddy says he would be undercutting the alphabet boys. Yeah, pretty much. Okay, pretty much. And so, I mean, what do y'all think about it? I just find it very interesting. You know, this just further proves that Trump is a liar who lies, which we already know, but it also further proves that what they're doing with these boats is all a load of BS. They're not worried about those people smuggling in illegal substances, okay? They're not worried about Maduro being a cartel. They're not worried about any of that. Trump's just trying, all of that, like I told you weeks ago, all of that was just an effort by Trump to get everybody's mind and attention off of Epstein, because the things he's doing are not even adding up. They're not even making any type of sense. Okay. Now, meanwhile, Tim Walz responds to Donald Trump calling him seriously the R word. And so Tim Walz hit back at Donald Trump after the president used a slur to attack him during a late night online tirade against immigration. Trump called the Minnesota governor seriously the R word. Y'all know what it is. Okay, a term widely regarded as derogatory toward people with intellectual disabilities. Walz responded by calling for the release of the president's recent MRI results, drawing renewed attention to questions surrounding the 79-year-old commander-in-chief's health. Okay, and his health is deteriorated. We're going to talk about that right after. Trump's health has drawn increased scrutiny in recent months after he was diagnosed with chronic venous insufficiency, okay, a common condition in older adults. Now, he also confirmed receiving an MRI at Walter Reed in October as part of what the White House described as a routine physical, though Trump told reporters that he had no idea what they even analyzed. That's how stupid he is. I mean, you don't even ask questions. Somebody tells you to go to the doctor and get an MRI done. You don't even ask the doctor any questions. Why am I having this done? What's going on? Trump is just an idiot. Okay, so release the MRI results, Walz wrote, sharing a screenshot on X of Trump's lengthy Truth Social post in which he slammed immigration, attacked Walz and Somali American Democratic Minnesota Representative Ilhan Omar, and pushed unsubstantiated claims about Somali immigrants. In the post, Trump wrote that hundreds of thousands of Somali refugees were taking over Minnesota and suggested that Somali gangs were roving the streets. Do y'all hear this? This fool said these Somali gangs are out here roving the streets. Anyway, Somalis make up roughly 1.1% of Minnesota's population, about 61,300 people, according to U.S. Census data. Now, crime rates in Minnesota are influenced by many factors, and there is no credible data showing Somali gangs are responsible for any widespread violence. Trump just makes up stuff as he goes. It is not the first time recently that the president has targeted Somalis in the U.S. Okay, earlier Thursday, after disparaging Somali people when discussing the shooting of 2 National Guard members by an Afghan national, Trump was asked about the incident, what the incident had to do with Somali people. He said nothing, but that Somalians have caused a lot of trouble and they're ripping us off for a lot of money. This man is so stupid. So you're sitting there talking about the National Guards getting shot and attacked, and then out of nowhere he brings up the Somalians. Then he's asked, well, what do they have to do with this? Nothing. It's just that they cause a lot of trouble, and they're always doing stuff. What? And Black people actually voted for this man. Yeah, they got to be dumb as hell. Okay, but let me continue. So last week, the president said that he would end the temporary protected status program of Somalis in Minnesota, effective immediately, he said. Trump told reporters on November the 14th that his recent MRI was part of a standard physical and that the results were outstanding. Now, the White House described the scan as advanced imaging, but has not specified which part of his body was examined. Press Secretary Carolyn Levitt said the president remains in exceptional health, physical health. MRI scans are non-invasive imaging techniques used to examine a patient's organs, tissues, and skeletal system, typically to assess brain and spinal health. Now, the scans are often used to check for aneurysms of cerebral vessels, conditions of the eye and inner ear, multiple sclerosis, spinal cord conditions, strokes, tumors, and brain injury from trauma. They can also be used to check heart health and other major organs. Now, it's not clear which part of the president's body the MRI was performed on, and the White House has not provided details on why Trump received one. The October scan was his second health evaluation this year, following July's disclosure of chronic venous insufficiency. Now, this is not the first time the Republican president and the Democratic governor have traded barbs since Trump returned to office after defeating the Harris-Walz ticket last year. So during his state of state address in April, Walz called Trump weak and petty. He's both, definitely. Okay, and slammed his early moves back in office, saying it's not supposed to be one old man sitting in the Oval Office sending out in the middle of the night tweets that shock markets. That shock markets into free fall. Okay, the next month, during a speech to the South Carolina Democratic Party, the Minnesota governor called on his party to get meaner. So anyway, the bottom line is he wants to see Trump's MRI results, and I would like to see them too. I think Trump actually knows what part of his body they did the MRI on. I think he just doesn't want to give out any information. Okay, I think he just doesn't want to say anything about that for his own reasons, because Trump is not in as good a health as he wants people to think. And Dr. Gupta was talking about this the other day. Let me pull this up, because he says the same thing the other doctors have said, that Trump is in cognitive decline. Okay? And this is all very interesting because, like I said, Trump had so much to say about Joe Biden. Likes up, everybody. Please like and share. Thank you in advance. Okay, give me a second. I'm looking for this video. I hate when I have to do this. So annoying. Here it is. I'm going to share. Says it's clear there's age-related cognitive decline. Clearly something is happening. And clearly he's not getting MRIs just because, is what Dr. Gupta says. Okay, so let's go listen to this. Let me get an overlay because I don't have permission to use this footage.
Pains to not speculate, because I think a lot of people like to speculate. And I think based on the conversation we started, a lot of people have started asking questions. But it's clear that there's age-related cognitive decline. I mean, that's obvious. His response to somebody fainting in the Oval Office really conveyed that. He didn't show any signs of concern. He didn't really do anything. He was slow to respond. And that slowness and fatigue you're seeing more and more in his public events. So that's one. Two, he's confused a lot. Three, he sometimes mumbles sort of incoherent nonsense when he's asked a question in the press pool in the Oval Office. So all these things, when this constellation of just him being him. Imagine if President Biden did any of those things. He did a fraction of it from what I saw, and the lead up to the 2024 election, and people obviously forced him out of the race. You're not seeing that level of scrutiny until maybe now you're starting to see signs of it. But, President Biden was active on the weekends, especially riding his bike in Rehoboth Beach. Physical exercise was something that he was clearly doing, and we had visual signs of that. From a cognitive standpoint, sure, you slow down once you hit your late 70s, early 80s. No one denied that with President Biden, that he had his moments of being 80 or 82, whatever it was. In this case, the White House is not willing to even acknowledge that the president is showing obvious signs of age-related decline, one. But two, you don't see him ever really doing anything physically active the way that President Obama, President George W. Bush, President Biden, our last three presidents prior to Trump, regularly worked in to their daily life. I mean, Biden was biking, he was exercising, he was walking, and he made a point of creating that visual to convey that was a big part of his daily existence. He made a point of engaging the press on the weekends. When he was biking in Delaware, you don't see any of that. And physical activity is one way to really guard against the onset of cognitive decline, dementia as we get older. So I worry about that as well. He might take trips out overseas in Air Force One. That doesn't substitute for the lack of physical activity. So Ben, when you put it all together here, clearly something is happening. And clearly they're not getting MRIs just because that's just at the moment that we live in. There's a reason, and they're worried. And frankly, that's piecing this all together. There's a reason to be worried based on his public performance. We took pains to not speculate because I think a lot of people like to speculate. And I think based on
Okay, so I told you all, honey, Trump's not going to be here for the whole 3 years. Trump's going to have to end up at Shady Pines. All right. Okay, so like that man said, even when that person fainted, did you all see the video of Trump fainting? Honey, it was just all a hot mess. I mean, not Trump fainting. When the person fainted in the Oval Office, Trump was just sitting there looking like, he didn't have a clue what to do. Okay, he didn't have a clue what to do. So let's go to the footage. Let's go to the footage. Like up, everyone, please like and share. Another thing is, he's absolutely right when he says that they're not being nearly as critical of Trump as they were about Biden. Okay, people were talking about Biden all over the internet. Okay, they were going in on him. They were putting pressure on him. Nobody said a darn thing about Trump. They just let Trump run, just run around like a whole madman that he is.
Yeah.
Press, we're going. Thank you, press. Cameras, we're done. Cameras.
But today we, you okay? Gordon, you okay?
Creating high-value jobs. And today we
Press, we're going. Thank you, press. Press. Cameras, we're done. Cameras.
Y'all see him? Okay, now, mind you, he's so different than Obama, the person that he clearly can't stand. Hold on. The person that he clearly can't stand. Here we go. Like so, everyone, please like and share. Thank you in advance.
The pervasive fear that one illness. There you go. You okay? I'm right here. I got you. Yeah. No, you're okay. This happens when I talk too long. You'll be okay. Here, why don't you go? You got it? Come on. Yeah.
See how Obama handled that? Okay? See how Obama handled that? Trump could never. He just has no dignity, poise, or grace. He's just so lame and stupid. Now, Insider explains where RFJK was really going when he ran away from the fainting man in the viral Oval Office clip. Because they said RFK got the hell up out of there with a quickness. Did y'all hear about it? Like, where are you going?
Oh, you okay? Gordon, you okay?
Keep your eyes on RFK. Watch him. Getting the hell out of there.
Creating high-value jobs. But today oh, you okay? Gordon, you okay? Yeah. Creating high-value jobs. But today oh, you okay?
Maybe he was going to get the medical kit or something. Who knows? But he sure got out of there with a quickness. Okay, find it also interesting. And then somebody said who fainted? Well, it was a man by the name of Eli Lilly. I think that's his name. He was a guest. Eli Lilly. Okay, so anyway, with that all being said, we're about to be out of here in a second. Let's go to this video of this man dragging Trump. We're going to this video of this man dragging Trump, as many people are these days. And many of these people are just sick and tired and fed up of Trump doing all these nefarious things. I mean, just think about how much damage he's done. It hasn't even been a full year yet. Okay? He's got us in a trade war. He's made, allies turn against the United States. Okay? Murdered over 80 people in the sea. Show no proof that these people did anything illegal. Now, he says in some instances that they know they were smuggling illegal substances because there was stuff in the water. Okay, well then, was that stuff confiscated and taken in as evidence? I'm sure it wasn't. Okay, he's done a whole lot, is all I'm saying. Talking about releasing the files after he stalled us for months. Okay, they're sitting there twisting Lauren Boebert's arm in the Situation Room, but at the same time saying, oh, we're transparent. Trump's been said go ahead and release it. Just the lies, the BS. Okay?
Just when we thought Trump could not be more of a disgusting human being, let's take a listen to his answers when asked by a reporter if he had planned on attending Sarah Beckstrom, the National Guard service member who just passed away after being shot in D.C.
It's in the early stages, obviously, but do you plan to attend Sarah's funeral?
I haven't thought about it yet, but it certainly is something I could conceive of. I love West Virginia. I won West Virginia by one of the biggest margins of any president anywhere. And it's, these are great people. I love the people of West Virginia. I love the people of our country. But I haven't given it any thought, but it sounds like something I could do.
Trump says some really horrendous things, but for whatever reason, like this is kind of the one that essentially takes the cake. How is he still president? That's what I want to know. How did you guys vote for this person? I'm not even gonna call him a man because he's far from that. He's a disgusting individual. I do not freaking get it how he is the commander in chief. I've never known or heard anything like this before in my entire life. No other president has ever been so freaking disrespectful to military troops regarding laying down their lives and the service to this country than Donald Trump. He said we're suckers and losers, and now it's his fault that she was unalived in D.C. because he violated constitutional authority and put the troops in D.C. Let's be so for real. Trump must go. Semper Fi, Gunny out.
Okay, he said Trump must go. I agree. Trump's got to go. Okay, we got to get him out of there. At the end of the day, he's just destroying everything from the inside out. Let's go to the next video. This is a video about a woman whose mother got deported. Her mother had been living here for decades, and she actually committed a crime like decades ago. I think it was like petty theft, shoplifting, or something like that. But they shipped her back to Vietnam. Okay, her husband and children are still here. Can you imagine? But these people probably voted for Trump. I don't know that they did, but they probably did because a whole lot of people that are getting deported sadly voted for him. I don't know what these people could have been possibly thinking. Did they not think when he said he was gonna, have mass deportations, they would be exempt? I just don't understand people. It's always so nonsensical to me.
Message with her community 1 week after the Department of Homeland Security placed the Hagerstown mother on a flight to Vietnam. Now, she came to the United States legally, but the Trump administration deported her over a theft conviction decades ago in Virginia. WJZ investigator Mike Helgren is live with the follow-up. And Mike, what is she saying now?
In her letter, Casey, Tran says that she was desperate. She prayed for guidance, and now she is struggling to adjust to life in Vietnam without her husband and 4 children. She also says she is heartbroken at having to leave the country she has called home for 32 years. This is the first picture of Melissa Tran since she returned to Vietnam. After a harrowing series of flights over 2 days, Tran and other deportees were shackled the entire time. In a new letter, Tran says the trip was very long and exhausting, but I am now free and no longer have to live in fear of check-in with immigration. She writes, I feel very lonely here. Every second my heart aches because I miss Danny and the kids terribly.
It's unfair for Melissa, unfair for my family. She's not a crime. She's not a murderer. She's a good person.
Her husband, Danny Hong, an American citizen, spoke to WJZ exclusively last week. Tran writes he now has to be both roles of father and mother. She asked for prayers to have the strength to learn to embrace the new chapter of my life.
My heart has broken for her and her family, and I hope that there's like a positive way forward.
Jenny Pascarella is Tran's attorney and successfully gained her release earlier this year from a detention center in Seattle. But with Tran now in Vietnam, she says it will be harder to get her back.
What will it take for our country to wake up and see what is happening around the country to so many people, so many families who are being kidnapped and banished from their lives here and their families? The cruelty is just, it cannot be stated enough.
One avenue, working with incoming Virginia Governor Abigail Spanberger to get Tran a pardon on her theft conviction. Even though Tran was here legally, that conviction allowed the government to deport her.
It allows the government to enforce a deportation order that's basically been dormant all of these years, decades.
Tran, a refugee, was allowed to stay all this time because Vietnam refused to issue her travel documents. That changed under pressure from the Trump administration.
Is she really the worst of the worst? I mean, do people really feel safer now that Melissa Tran has been deported? I don't think so.
Tran writes she's leaned into her faith. I don't know what my future will be, but I put all my hope and faith in God. She says, I am no longer afraid of what lies ahead.
Let Melissa go home. Bring Melissa home.
Now, the Department of Homeland Security tells us that Tran received full due process, and because of her past criminal conviction, she is not welcome in the United States. We're live in Northwest Baltimore. Mike Helgren, WJ.
Well, she's not welcome in the United States. You don't hear that? So low down, honey. Said she is not welcome. Wow. Okay, Purple Ace said, sir, you don't have to be a part. Go join her. It's not that complicated. Nothing's stopping you. I don't get it. Honey, I get it. That man doesn't want to go there. If you're in the United States living peacefully and you've been here for decades, do you want to go to Vietnam because somebody else got shipped there, honey? I wouldn't do it. And matter of fact, if I was her, I would have faked my death, honey. Trump would have had to drag me up out of here by himself. He'd have to come find me because I would have faked my death just as quick. What would you all do? Seriously. If that were any of you, what would you do? Okay? Honey, I'm playing dead, okay? I'm faking it. D Major said it's a misdemeanor at best. Okay. Byron B. Byron B said, Byron B, you are low down. Said we'll leave the lights on for you. Not. kind of low down dirty subscribers do I have on my channel? Yeah, I am so done. That is hilarious. Okay. That man said he's not going to listen. We're about to be out of here. Y'all crack me up. Okay. I love y'all to life. Don't forget, tomorrow is True Crime Sundays. For those of you who have memberships, we're going to get into something juicy. And then I'm also going to go live for everybody else. But before I roll out, I want y'all to see this video. Because really, looking at this video, they show the man fainting, RFK leaving, and Trump asleep, all in the same video. This looks like an episode of the Three Stooges. Okay, this is so not serious. Okay. Byron B said, Queen, you are something else. I know you are, beloved. Okay, the Royals are something else.
RFK Jr.'s sudden walkout, Trump caught sleeping, and chaos in the Oval Office. This clip has everyone talking. During a live press conference about lowering weight loss drug costs, things took a shocking turn when a man suddenly collapsed. While Dr. Oz rushed in to help, cameras caught RFK Jr. quietly walking out, and the internet instantly accused him of fleeing the scene. But insiders now say he actually went to grab a chair and a wet towel to help the man not to avoid him. Meanwhile, President Trump showed zero concern as the man fainted just a few feet away. And later, another clip surfaced showing Trump slumped over at his desk, appearing to nod off mid-conference. Even more awkward? Dr. Oz was talking about obesity and dementia at that exact moment. From Kennedy's walkout to Trump's nap, the Oval Office moment quickly turned into one of the most talked about clips of the week. What do you think, was RFK Jr. being helpful or just trying to avoid the chaos?
Okay, they say he was trying to be helpful. He probably was. He probably did go get a towel and a chair. Okay, I guess. Uh, but anyway, XX Frank Diddy said, these people goofy. This is political theater. That's what I'm talking about. This is the Truman Show. Honey, this is nothing but a joke. Okay, his entire presidency, except for all the nefariousness coming after it. But at the end of the day, they look like bumbling idiots. Okay? So with that all being said, what have we learned, beloveds? What have we learned in the past week? We've learned that Pam Bondi and Lindsay Halligan are likely going to lose their licenses to practice and could possibly face charges. We've learned that Hegseth ordered those boats, the strike on the survivors, okay, the second strike in September, even though he's denied it. No, he absolutely did it. I'm pretty sure he did it. And then we also learned that Trump is pardoning a known and convicted drug trafficker. That was a president. Okay, a former president. The same thing he's accusing Maduro of. So it's not making any sense. His whole thing's falling apart. We also learned that the white men, some of them anyway, want the black men. They say they need the black men to help them. Let me tell you all something. That guy that we listened to yesterday that was saying, black men, we need you. We need you. You're the ones that can do it. That also sounded like a setup. Because think about how he said that white men and even the Jewish men, if they say something, they'll be hit with the racism and all this and that. So they think black people can't be hit with racism. They think black people can't be called or deemed anti-Semitic because they sure deemed Kanye that, Kyrie Irving, Whoopi Goldberg. Okay, it sounds like a whole setup. See, it's really interesting because he wants black men to do his dirty work. He wants to speak on it, but is afraid to because of the backlash that he may get. Notice how he was talking in code, talking about Izzy. That's what he was calling those people, that country. He was saying Izzy and all that stuff. I want you all to pay attention. But he wants black men to step up. Please. Okay. Hardly worthy. If these people had been allies from day one and they had been fighting for black people to stop and end racism from day one, that's a whole nother story. But when you haven't done anything to fix the problems that you all have perpetuated upon us, how dare you come to us and ask us to help solve a problem that you now face? Get the F out of here. And I said the exact same thing when the Karens and Beckys and Amy's and Heathers came out saying, black women, we need you. They're trying to overturn Roe v. Wade. We got to stand together. We know we haven't been there for you. Do you all remember that video that I showed you? I find it also interesting that the same people who do us dirty always want to come back when the time when the need arises and try to beg us to help them. It's not happening. It's not have that, okay? That's like I'm in a boat sinking. You see me sinking, and you have a life vest. You have a rope you can throw to save me, and you don't. You hold your rope and want me to fend for myself, but then I survive, and then sometime later, I see you in the same predicament. I now have a rope, and I now have a life vest, and I now can help you if I choose. And you expect me to help you? Please, Queen. I know I didn't help you. I left you there to die, but please. No, that's okay. I'm good. Figure it out for yourself, just like I had to. Okay? That's what they need to do. Figure it out for themselves, just like we've always had to do. We've always had to fight and scratch, okay, in this country. We've always had to protest and speak up for ourselves and fight for rights and everything that we have been afforded. It wasn't given to us. We had to literally scratch and fight for it, okay? That man that was talking about black men, we need you. I'm sure he didn't ever lift a finger to help anybody who looks like me. Of course, some white people did. I'm just saying he's not one. Okay? He's not one. He looks like somebody who was a MAGA and then it all went wrong. And now he's doing the same thing Marjorie Taylor Greene's doing. And I want you all to pay attention because Marjorie Taylor Greene, with her sudden change of attitude and all that stuff, you know, that doesn't do her any favors, like I told you all, because let's not forget, she still signed for Trump's big, beautiful bill to pass. She's been in for everything, every agenda and narrative that he's pushed. She's been there through it all. She has had his back and stood 10 toes down. Okay? But now when Trump ticks her off, okay, and also when Bannon starts talking about them going to prison, himself included, yeah, she don't want to have any parts of that. So let me just get up out of here. Okay? That's how that goes. Anyway, my time is up. All right. I will be back tomorrow. I hope you all enjoy the rest of this beautiful day. Each one teach one. That's how we grow and thrive. Do something productive, constructive, but never destructive. And always remember, beloveds, to keep the Most High first in your lives. Until next time, peace.
With that gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you're done. They show no love for the queen. Why you hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans? I got dreams like King Luther, shed blood like Kunsa. You ain't helping my people, I ain't got nothing to say to ya. I want all the smoke like hookah. Talking reparations, America won't be great until they give us compensation. I'm like, I'm the hottest right now. See a bunch of lames out here trying to jock on my style. They be doing too much. I'm the queen, it's too easy. It's like they all at Popeyes, how they be talking so greasy. I just sit back and laugh while these haters get madder. So nefarious how they don't want my pockets with cheddar. I tell them they can do better. These snakes in the grass can leave a bite on your ass, cause y'all be trusting too fast. I got my foot on the gas, other one on they necks. Dropping receipts on haters, you better show some respect. I'm never facing regrets, we only facing the threats. Running through every challenge like a relay, break no sweat. It's a cold game, so I got that blanket with me. Now that my people awaken, ain't no going to sleep. I do not play by my piece, this time I'm playing for keeps. You talking slick, but when I see you like them ends, we gon' meet. And I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you done. They show no love for the queen. Why they hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans and I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you done. They show no love for the queen. Why they hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans and I got